Hello, my name is Zach Wright with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to another Snap Judgment review. What is a Snap Judgment review if you've never listened before? Well, I think game reviewers nowadays get a little caught up with 100%ing or near completing a game before they do the review. They forget what it's like to play the game right away. So I do about 5 to 10 hours with each game, and I'm trying to give you an idea whether you're going to enjoy it right away or not. That, coupled with the fact that I think games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I will not be giving a score to this review. Instead, I'll be telling you an overview of what the game is. Then I will be giving you a list of pros and cons of the game that are, of course, my opinion. And then I will be telling you whether I will be sticking with this game outside the purposes of this review or not. I also just want to say today's review is an early access game. I think it's a very early access game. It has a lot of work to go. So I'm going to be reviewing on that. But it's a real independent one. So I don't have a lot of exposure. I only have 637 fans. But this game really struck something for me. So I want people to see it. Even though I think it does need some work. So I kind of had to weigh whether I do the negative stuff or anything. So I just want to caveat that this game is in early access, but it's incredibly worth the price, and we'll get into all of that. So what I'm reviewing today is a game called Wendigo Blue. I am not exactly sure what the title means, and in fairness, I am not exactly sure I understand the plot. But what this game is a 2D kind of fantasy sci-fi anime style brawler. You guys know how much I love brawlers on this. I bought this on a whim after watching a weird like 15 brawlers you don't know about video deep in the YouTube. And it was only like 10 bucks I think when I purchased it. And I was not disappointed. However, there are definitely some ups and downs. This game is roguelite. So what happens is there is kind of this map. Some of the map is blocked off, not finished yet for the early access. You get a selection of 2 places to go into and 4 characters to choose from. It looks like there's going to be 4 more characters coming at some point in the future. And then you fight through a stage, and then you battle a very nasty boss at the end of that stage. 2D brawler style. There are some big differences here. And one of the huge differences are the mechanics, which I think I'm going to save that until we get into the pros and cons, because I think it's the first time I'm ever going to have a pro and a con about the same thing. But the mechanics are very different. There are a lot of ways to attack, block, counter, combo, throw. There is just a lot of options here. More options than any other 2D brawler that I've ever seen when it comes to the fighting. Sometimes, in some ways, that's absolutely awesome, because one thing I've said about this genre is people need to step it up, and since we're in this newer era of it, not just rehash the old stuff and play off nostalgia, but innovate, and I think they really are here. But the overall game is you will go through this map, you'll fight this map, and then after it you get this event that you get to pick kind of how you do it. It's a timed event, and depending on the clues that the event gives you and when you select yes or no is how you succeed or fail the event. But that is not explained. It's just something I had to figure out. You also pick up items along the way that you can add to your character's equipment that boost stats, boost abilities, and give new powers. In addition to that, accomplishing certain goals in each map will earn you stars that allow the character to earn skills in between each map, which allow you to build out the character in the moment through the course of the map and the fight. Then you get another selection of different maps to go to. You get to pick which map you go to, and then you fight through that one. Now, once you beat this, you'll fight a foreign god, is what they call them, because the whole premise of the game, I believe, because the story is very hard for me to kind of understand, but the story is that you are in this specific world that is constantly being invaded by foreign gods, and you have to stop the foreign gods from invading, and that's what you're doing. So you fight a foreign god, you defeat the foreign god, and then it just takes you back to the title screen. There's no hub zone or anything like an Absalom, which is another thing that we will talk about later in the pros and cons, I think. But once you go in, then you have more selections when it comes to what you can do. You can then go into your collection, and depending on how many Vellum coins you collect, which are these things you collect from defeating bosses, they can be used to revive you in the battles on the maps themselves, or they can be used to unlock certain perks and things that will help you, such as a dirigible, which allows you to craft things before you even go into the map. It also allows you to craft things while you're in the map, like armor, so you don't have to just collect them. You also have other things that help you get special bonuses in the beginning to make your next run easier and easier and easier and easier. You also unlock little story run-throughs that give you backstory on your 4 characters so far, which I find that very interesting and kind of cool. The story is, again, very hard to wrap my head around, but it's still very cool in the fact that, like, if I run through it with a character, I'll get the chapter 1 of their story, like how they started, then I get like a chapter 2, which is another little prequel to what's about to happen with them fighting the gods and everything, which I think is really interesting. Now, when you defeat a new god that you haven't defeated before, you get some sort of big crystal thing, and you apparently need 3. I don't know if you can even get 3 right now in the early access, because I fought one god, I beat him, then I fought a second god and beat him, and then I got the first god again, so I don't know if that's a random decision or if the third god just hasn't been added to the game yet because it's early access, but I'm guessing something new happens once you get that third crystal, or will happen in the future when they potentially finish the game. Alright. And that's basically the run-in-the-mill of the game. It's very hard for me to go more into it because, again, there's a lot of characters here and there's a lot of story being told, but it's a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around. Might not be other people to wrap their head around. It's good. I'm not saying it's terrible, and it's enough to keep me into it and enjoying the characters, but I'm still not quite understanding where they came from or where they're going and stuff like that. And maybe that will become more clear as I play more and unlock more of those prologues, which is very cool. But the in-between story missions, that's literally it. You go through it. That's the game. There's also a bunch of other hideables and collectibles that you can find in the map. There's all sorts of different, like, challenge doors to open. Like, you'll find a door that's red. That means you have to do enough damage to it in a short enough period of time for it to open. But then you might find a door that has an ice thing on it, which means you have to have ice magic. If you don't, you're out of luck. You can't open that door. So this brings me to pros and cons. All right. So the pros, I'm going to start off with the universal pros, and then we'll kind of segue to cons with the double. My universal pros is the music. The music is phenomenal. It stays in my head as I come out of it. It is old school 8-bit retro beat 'em up awesomeness, and it's there. Do I wish there could be a couple more tracks, a little bit more variation? Yes, but I think that's something that could be added, and I'm definitely not going to take the lack of variation as a con at this stage in the game. I think that the music that is here is phenomenal, and it keeps me, tapping my toe while I'm fighting the entire time. The events are the next one. I think one of the coolest things about this game is it doesn't just rest on the brawler mechanics and its laurels with that. Instead, it tries to innovate. Again, we will get to part of this in the cons, but once you figure out that, like, there is also a timed mechanic to some of these, like, events and how they happen, it's very cool. Not to mention the fact there are a ton of events. I've played through this game for 5 hours. I've played through this game, I want to say 4 times, and I'm still getting events I haven't gotten before. I've definitely gotten some repeats, but those repeats also are different in some way. Like, there'll be one where you have to decide when to touch a statue. Depending on the clue is how long you have to wait to touch the statue. But there's like 5 or 6 different clues, and I don't even think I've gotten all the clues yet. I think there's stuff like that that's really cool. Plus, you can get options to extra merchants, depending on whether you can, like, cajole them into, like, being your friend and stuff. Honestly, in some ways, I wish they'd expound on these event systems a little bit more than just the timer, because I think they're really cool, and they serve a really great purpose to break up the in-between action and give you some more flavor in the world and the game itself. In addition to that, let's go right into the next one, which is the sprites. The sprites are phenomenal in this game. They all look cool. There's very few times when I play a game where you could select multiple characters, especially brawlers, where I don't immediately go, that's my favorite character. All 4 of these characters look cool, I want to play them, and they're interesting. Plus, just to add to this, the character diversity here is huge. These characters, while they all share the same basic, skills, a lot of them, they operate completely differently than one another. Good example, there's one character named Gilroy. Most characters only have one weapon slash. He can actually double slash with his weapon, which allows him to add more to his combos. He also has a ranged magical attack that's base level with his weapon when he does that, whereas others don't have that. Then you have Irene, who is incredibly slow moving around the screen, and at first really bothered me because when she does her magic attack, she loses her weapon and you have to pick it back up. But then I realized how much damage it does when it does that, and also if you use that weapon in other situations, you hang on to the weapon and do way more damage, like using it for aerial. She can actually hit people on the ground with her weapon with an aerial attack, whereas others can't do that. In addition, she has a loading mechanic that I did not figure out until like hour 6, where shells go down every time you take a weapon swing, and then once they're out, you can still swing with weapon, but it doesn't do nearly as much damage. But there is a loading mechanic of pressing down and she loads the gun. It took me a really long time to figure that out, which again, we're going to get to that in the cons as well. Nonetheless, the diversity here is truly, truly phenomenal and interesting. And the fights themselves are great because of the pro-con that I'm about to give you. Because there's so many mechanics and so many ways to fight your enemies. The fight mechanics here, it keeps me coming back because they're so dynamic. And even Absalom is not dynamic like this. I'm not saying this is a better game than Absalom. I love Absalom. I think Absalom might be my all-time game forever. But like, this game definitely is closer than I thought it was going to be. So let's get into my dual pro-con. And that is the mechanics, the confusion in the mechanics. Okay, so when you first go into this game, you get a quick tutorial that shows you all the different things you can do. And there are so many different things. What I mean by this is, so there is a dodge button. That dodge has a small cooldown, but if you successfully dodge something, you enter a flow state, which changes your moves and also changes your damage. We're not done there. You also have a blocking button. If you block perfectly, though, right when somebody's about to attack, you perfect block, which means you can counter them, which changes how you attack and do your things. Each one's counter is different. Then you have a series of X combos, which are just fist, handheld, punches, whatever. Then you have a weapon attack, which is your Y button, which uses the character's weapon. Those in concert give you different combos. In addition to that, there's a really cool throw mechanic where if you run into somebody, you catch them and you can throw them. I love the running into them because it's so hard to get people in grapples in most brawlers that I usually don't do it. With this one, you just run at them and you got them, and I love that. But nonetheless, that changes certain things too, and there are 4 or 5 different ways you can do a throw. You can do a high throw, a low throw, a damaging throw, whatever. Same with your weapon attacks. Using and your normal attack, using the directional buttons changes the combo and also changes the maneuver of what you're doing, such as the Axe Girl, Blue Jay. She can do her normal weapon thing. She jumps forward and does a weapon slash with her huge axe, but she can also press up and weapon, which juggles them. Irene, the one with the gun hammer that I was telling you about in the bullet mechanic, she just does a normal swing forward, but if you press down and Y, that's how you reload, which is never really explained. Nonetheless, it goes through just the basics with this tutorial, not any of the like changing the direction stuff. Just here's your base combo, here's your weapon combo, you get the flow state, you get the counter parry, whatever, and then that's it, and it sends you out into the world. And what's really interesting about this game is all of the enemies have like different ways to fight them. So like, I mean, your first baseline enemies are just pound them and they're dead, but you get a lot of people there is an armor for every type of attack. So like if the armor is gray, you only take that armor down with normal physical attacks. If the armor is blue, you take it down with weapon attacks. If it's purple, it's magic attacks. And the magic attacks are even more confusing because the magic attacks happen when you hold down your weapon button. So like if you hold your weapon button instead of tap it, it will do this big like charge up attack that is magical. and that's your magical attack, your base magical attack. And then you can collect different pieces of equipment that are never really explained. It's just there, and you just kind of have to figure it out. And then some of them give you magical spells that charge up over time. That took me forever to realize that it was charging up over time, and then you can use it. Some of them will heal you. Some of them will release giant ray guns. Other will summon people. In addition to that, your ultimate skill, once you have that unlocked through the roguelite sections of it, that is a double button combination that they never tell you about that allows you to attack. So here's the pro and the con of this. The pro is that this is so deep. It is absolutely one of the deepest mechanical brawlers that I've ever played. And so confusing because they explain maybe 5% of what you need to know to really understand this game. Add into that other confusing mechanics like that they don't really explain, like the event system. It took me forever to understand that the timer is the mechanic for whether or not you succeed on those events and how you do it. So like, if you're trying to gain a black market person's trust, you don't just hit it right away because then you're too eager and they nail you as EDF. You have to wait a little bit, then hit it before it goes away so that they're like, all right, this guy's on the level. But nobody tells you that. There's nothing there to indicate that or explain that to you. Same with the equipment. For the longest time, I was doing the entire game without equipment. It took me forever to realize that in between you have these tickets, and you have to spend these tickets to take the equipment that you collected. You don't get to just keep the equipment. So like if you collect the equipment in a map, once you're done with that map, you get to decide to pick which you take with you, and you only have 3 tickets that you can use. But even more so, those tickets can be saved to be used next run. They don't tell you that. The money can be saved to be used next run. They don't tell you that. The Valheim coins are saved for the collection. They don't really tell you that. There is a lot of information that is just not presented to you, and there's so much depth to this game that it is a pro and a con in itself. And then we will move on into the rest of our cons. The difficulty. I'm going to say this. I wrote this down before I realized how the equipment system worked, because the first couple of games I played on normal mode, and I absolutely got stomped. I mean, stomped into the ground. But I had not truly understood the mechanics yet, and I had not truly understood the equipment system. I think if you're going into this new, you should put it on easy, even if you play Brawlers before, just until you get used to the flow of this game, because it is a very different bitch than any other Brawler you have ever played. And then my last con is I think this game really needs a hub world. Again, it's very confusing when you beat it, and it just takes you back to the main menu, and then you have to kind of scroll through individual menus to realize that, oh, it's just saving my place, but it's all menus. I think this would be really served much better if you, like when you unlock the dirigible, just put us on the dirigible and have just little stores on the dirigible, kind of like Absalom Sanctuary, so that we don't go back to the main screen and it doesn't seem like we've completely ended the game. I think this game could really value from that hub. And I want to one more time caveat this with this is an early access game. Super early access game, and what they've done here is truly, truly impressive. The last con, I know I said the hub world was, but there's one more that I did want to speak on, and that is some of the button prompts, and this might just be me, do not work the way they are supposed to. Especially the running mechanic. Like, it says hit RT to run, but if I hit RT, it just dashes me. It doesn't run. And then sometimes it will run. And I've tried every combination of tap, and I don't know what changes between character to character or playthrough to playthrough. There doesn't seem to be any logic to it, but stuff like that. Every once in a while it does things that I don't feel like I did. Like it'll dash me around a little bit, or even more so, you'll have like your ultimate is X and Y, and it's real touchy that if you hit it at all, that X and Y comes out and you're done. Like, so I think that like there are some button prompting, some crispness that needs to happen on that level, because there's definitely a couple of times where I'm like, why didn't I run the whole way? Oh, I didn't run the whole way. He hit me, so now I'm down. You know, stuff like that moments. Whether or not I'm going to stick with this, definitely. I love this game. I think this game is really, really attempting to do something cool here. And while it is overtly complicated, I kind of enjoy that part about it. It is very weighty. The fights feel really good. And when you really start to get the hang of all the mechanics you can do in battle, it is awesome. It's absolutely awesome to get those counters and the combos and everything else going at the right time with the music just pumping. The boss fights are huge. They have so much health. It is so epic. And I think that this game has a lot to offer, and I'm looking forward to whatever they add to this game. And I hope some other people will see this review and go out and try it. It's only $10. It's definitely worth that, if not more, right now, let alone what it's going to be when it actually comes out. So, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? You can let us know in the comments below, or you can join our Discord. The link's in the description below, and influence us in all of our shows from there. And as long as you guys keep watching and listening, I'll keep making them. See you guys next time.
Ha!